Okay, this is a brief video on writing the statement of the problem paper. A good way to start thinking about the statement of the problem paper is to return to the problem paragraph that we completed in the very first units of the course. You recall this problem paragraph had completion of these prompts. I'm currently working at, the mission of the organization is, etc., etc. So this problem paragraph that you completed and had approved by me is now what you want to refer back to as you look at the statement of the problem paper. Having said that, let's go ahead and look at the statement of the problem template that we are using. Okay. So this is the statement of the problem template. Let me size it here so we can look at it completely. You notice that first of all there is a title page to it, and it's on the template that we've got on Google Docs. And so the template should work very well for you. As you just complete the template, you should have no problem. But let's get into the actual content here. Notice I've annotated this statement of the problem template here to give you some indication of what I just said, that you want to refer back to the problem paragraph for some of the content in your thinking about this, about the statement of the problem. So from the problem paragraph, we talked about the mission of the organization is, the performance problem of the organization I am focusing on is. Okay, well that's what goes into the mission and organizational problem. And keeping what you wrote in the problem paragraph in mind, you should go through each one of these prompts and explanations and just address each one. Now notice that there are page limitations to the statement of the problem. This is not a long document. This document should only be 5 to 7 pages, not including the title and the reference pages. That's not including title and reference pages. So 5 to 7 pages is not long at all. So try to stay within the guidelines here of each one of the sections. So moving on then, you noticed that in your problem paragraph in our subsequent goals units, we actually stated our problem as a goal. And when you think back on the problem paragraph, you said, I know this is a problem because, and you were looking for measures, you were looking for data that you could provide as evidence for your problem. Well, this is the same idea here, is that you're restating your problem as a goal within the organization, and now you're actually providing evidence. Describe how the goal was established. Okay. How is the standard that was determined or benchmarked, and then what measures are used to track the progress towards the goal. So you're again thinking back then to your problem paragraph, and then you quantify the size of the problem by subtracting what is benchmarked or what you set as the standard or the goal, and what your actual progress has been. So this then you again refer back to the data that you know of that this is a problem. So the next section is the context of the problem. This is fairly straightforward if just reading the prompts here, and you are actually describing now the context for most of you, and maybe the context of the school. You know, how big is the school? Where is it located? And then the more specific setting of your problem of practice within the school. And a little bit more about the information about the stakeholders involved, and again where the organization is located, and any contextual information that's important for understanding the problem. Sometimes students add in here items or some information about the culture of the school, because later on when we examine culture, the organization's culture, this is going to be important. Again, size, we have limitations on the size. This section should only be 1 page. According to context of the problem, should be 1 page. Okay, the importance of the problem then. This section here is 1 short paragraph. This is not a long section. Please note that. And again, refer back to your problem paragraph. And the prompt in that problem paragraph was, this problem impacts the organizations, etc., etc. And this is where you want to expand on that and tell us why it is important that this problem be solved, and even more importantly, the consequences of not solving the problem for the organization. Okay, so again, 1 short paragraph, and then the next section is the longest section of statement of the problem. It's 2 or 3 pages long, and again, this is a literature review, and again, you're starting from a rather generalized or wider issue. Now, notice that you said in your problem statement that this problem is indicative of a larger problem in education. Well, this is where you're going to expand on that. So often literature reviews kind of follow a V type of format, if you will. And oh, here's a nice curvilinear U. And that is, you start wide, start with a generalized problem, and then you are providing more literature, more specific literature to bring that problem down to your actual context and addresses your problem of practice. So start big and work your way down the V, or here in this case a U, and towards the specifics then. What's often very useful as you think about this chain of reasoning from the general to the specific, is using level headings. So the related literature and background of the problem is a level 2 in APA formatting. This is a level 2 heading. And a level 3 heading, you can use those throughout this literature review to direct the reader to the more specific topics that you're covering as you go from the general to the specific. And you want to look up what a level 3 heading is and how it's formatted. It's indented, sentence case, bolded, with the period at the end, and your text starts immediately after. So please look that up. And use level 3s for a couple reasons. One, it helps organize your related literature, so it's easier to read because it's organized better. And secondly, level headings act as a priming device. In other words, you've heard the old adage when you're public speaking about tell people what you want to tell them that, and then thirdly, tell them what you just told them. So this gives you a priming device by using a level heading to let us know this is what I'm going to talk about in this brief section of my literature review. So how many sources do you want to seek out and cite in APA format, please? 5 to 7 sources approximately. Again, these are all approximately. You want to be looking at empirical or peer-reviewed articles. You want to focus on 2 or 3 themes. Again, perhaps 2 articles per theme, and again separate these using level 3 APA headings. But there's other sources such as databases and government reports and white papers and trade studies by reputable organizations or associations. But mostly we're looking at peer-reviewed empirical or theoretical articles, 5 to 7 of them. So this is your opportunity to demonstrate your writing, your ability to formulate a literature chain of reasoning, if you will. I'm going to also show you some tips at the end of this that you can read. It's also the same tips that we had at the end of our class and the goals. I'll show you that slide and let you give a moment to read it. The final section of the paper is the purpose of the project. And again, this is 1 short paragraph, and you're really paraphrasing what is shown here, that you're going to use the gap analysis framework of Clark and Estes to examine your organizational problem, and you're going to focus on possible knowledge, motivation, organizational causes for your stated problem. Now, if you're working on a innovation, then it's going to be knowledge, motivation, and organizational needs that the stakeholders will have to have in order to achieve their goal. So you adapt this, but basically the one short paragraph follows these prompts. And then finally, your references should be an APA format, please. Okay, so here's the rubric, Statement of the Problem Paper Grading Rubric, which I'm urging you to print out and then have your colleague, at least one colleague, look at your draft and check mark these boxes where you think you may need improvement or whether or not it's excellent. And so you can see that this is a fairly detailed rubric. So you can use this rubric as your own checklist. So you can turn each one of these items into a question. In other words, under mission and organizational problem, you can say to yourself, have I included the name of the organization and what it does? Have I included the mission of the organization? The problem focus. Turn each one of these into a question. Use this rubric first as a checklist for your own work, and then exchange documents with another colleague and have them check it, double check it. So as you go through, you notice that there's a section for each that corresponds to each one of the sections of the statement of the problem, all the way down to background of the problem, sources of evidence, and then the formatting and documentation is also very important. So you want to be able to have someone check your APA formatting, please, and check for any writing styles. And don't forget, we do not use the I, we use the academic third person in our writing style. Okay, I will also show you some of the other slides that we looked at in the goals workshop that gave you tips and the common problems that that students have, so you can refer back to those as well. As usual, email me if you get stuck and let me know if you have any problem understanding the rubric or the template and what's required.